Have you ever wondered why, in a world overflowing with information, so many of us feel lost? Not just overwhelmed, but trapped. Our thoughts, our choices, even our emotions, no longer entirely our own. Think about your day. Scrolling through your phone, maybe watching the news, catching up on social media. Each screen, every notification, it feels like harmless distraction. But what if I told you that behind the endless scroll lies something far more calculated? What if I told you that your very thoughts were being framed, shaped, without your awareness? Let's start with a little history. Back in 1735, during America's Great Awakening, revivalist preacher Jonathan Edwards stumbled upon something extraordinary. He discovered that by inducing guilt and fear, through a steady buildup of tension, he could wipe the mental slate of his audience clean. Once their defenses were down, he could reprogram them with his message. Now, he didn't call it brainwashing, but the effect? Unmistakable. Fast forward to today, and while fiery sermons may not be the centerpiece of our daily lives, the principles behind them are thriving in the digital age. Every algorithm, every perfectly timed notification works on the same basic principle: manipulate emotions, reduce critical thinking, and replace your independent thoughts with a narrative designed by someone else. Take social media. At first, it was a way to connect, to share. But now, it's a battlefield. Platforms keep you hooked with rhythmic, endless scrolling, just like the repetitive music used to induce altered states during revivalist meetings. The result? You're in a trance. And in that trance, you're 25 times more suggestible to the messages flashing before your eyes. They call it engagement. You call it entertainment. But beneath it lies a carefully orchestrated system designed to hijack your brain. It's not just social media. Let's talk about news cycles. Fear-based stories dominate headlines because fear keeps you glued to the screen. The same technique that Edwards used to warn of hellfire is now repackaged as 24-hour sensationalism, keeping you anxious and, more importantly, distracted. When you're distracted, you're easier to influence. That's the secret they don't want you to know. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever clicked on a headline only to realize it didn't tell you anything new? That's not an accident. It's part of the yes set. The headline grabs your agreement. Yes, that's shocking. Yes, I need to know more. And by the time you're in, your brain is primed for the next layer of suggestion. Buy this, believe that. Hate them. Think about it. When was the last time you stopped to question the story behind the story? There's more. Subliminal programming isn't just science fiction. It's a documented reality. Vibrato in music, ELF waves, hidden messages in media. These aren't accidents. They're tools. Tools to guide your thoughts. Not with force, but with subtlety. So subtle you don't even notice. And here's the kicker. The more you expose yourself to these techniques, the more conditioned you become. Like the thousands of hours children spend in front of TVs before they turn 16. The screen isn't just entertainment. It's a trainer that teaches you to consume without questioning, to believe without evidence. But here's the question I need you to ask yourself. Are you in control of your thoughts? Or are you just a product of what you've been fed? So, what do you do when you realize the battlefield isn't out there? It's in here, in your mind. The first step is awareness. When you understand how these techniques work, you start to see them everywhere. Pre-framing, reframing, open loops, thought-stopping techniques. They're woven into everything from advertising to political speeches. Take open loops, for instance. We'll tell you the full story after this commercial break. That hook keeps you engaged, keeps you wanting more. But have you noticed how often the full story doesn't really answer anything? It's not meant to. It's meant to keep you watching, keep you suggestible. The second step is reframing. Remember, the tools being used against you can also work for you. Feeling overwhelmed by negativity in the media? Reframe it. That feeling isn't fear, it's a signal that you're being manipulated. Use it as a reminder to step back, take control, and choose what you let in. Future pacing is another tool you can use. Imagine a world where your choices are truly your own. What does that feel like? What could you accomplish if your thoughts weren't dictated by an algorithm? Here's an example. Next time you're on social media, pause. Ask yourself, why is this post here? What does it want me to feel, to believe, to do? That simple act of questioning breaks the trance. Now, let's talk about agreement frames. Have you ever noticed how political leaders start speeches with things you can't help but agree with? We all want a better future for our children. Of course, you agree. That's the point. They're aligning themselves with your values, so you're more likely to accept what comes next. But what if you flipped that? What if you started aligning your decisions with your own core values? Contrast frames are another tool. Instead of getting stuck in a false choice, left versus right, this versus that, create your own contrast. I can keep letting external forces control my thoughts, or I can take back my mind and choose for myself. Remember, the techniques that can bind you can also free you. And finally, let's address the elephant in the room. True believers. Those who've given up their power, who follow without questioning. They exist in every corner of society, from politics to religion to social movements. But here's the thing. They're not the enemy. The real enemy is the system that exploits their insecurity. What we need is self-responsibility, self-awareness. The courage to step out of the trance and ask, what do I really believe? What do I really want? Because the truth is, you're not powerless. You've just been led to believe you are. The tools are in your hands. Awareness, reframing, future pacing. These aren't just concepts. They're weapons in the battle for your mind. Use them. And the next time you see a headline, hear a speech, or feel the pull of a notification, remember, you have a choice to question, to resist, to think for yourself, because the greatest revolution doesn't happen out there. It happens in here.